Dawood entered the academy as a nameless extra with terrible stats and one simple goal: stay invisible. Instead, his system turned dangerous attention into rewards and made powerful women notice the student everyone else ignored. His first real crisis came when the world's future savior was assigned to fight him in front of the academy. With almost no combat ability, Dawood should have lost before he could even understand what happened. Then desperate survival activated, multiplying his strength only when the threat to his life became immediate. One desperate punch dropped the Academy's greatest prodigy and erased Dawood's chance of remaining a nobody. From that point on, curiosity, trust, obsession, and affection kept pulling more important characters directly into his life. The harder Dawood tried to avoid the game's plot, the more the entire story began orbiting around him. Before that chaos, Dawood had only just cleared the survival game, whose routes, villains, and disasters he knew almost completely. Instead of becoming the hero, he wakes inside an irrelevant minor noble, who is about to enroll at the Imperial Academy. His father gives him one practical warning: avoid trouble, because the Academy is packed with children from the Empire's strongest families. A status window immediately exposes how weak his new body is, while the starting quest makes Academy enrollment mandatory for survival. Dawood therefore plans to follow the known story from the background and let the game's real protagonist handle every major crisis. That plan starts failing on the train, where his seatmate is Elnor Tristan, the dangerous noblewoman destined to become the game's final boss. Elnor acts far more normal than he remembers, which unsettles Dawood because even small personality changes can distort every future event. Trying not to attract her attention, he gives short answers, looks away, and reminds himself that an expendable extra should never approach a major character. Before he can create distance, a massive boulder crashes into the Academy train, tearing through the carriage and triggering Elnor's protective magic. With his own stats too low to survive the impact, Dawood grabs Elnor and uses her protection as the only shield available. She mistakes the desperate move for an attempt to save her, creating the first unexpected spark of interest between them. Dawood apologizes immediately, but Elnor asks his name and promises she will remember the strange freshman who threw himself into danger beside her, while he's silently sick, knowing he only grabbed her to use her armor as a shield. As soon as he says his name, she smiles and says she'll never forget it. He notices on his status window that a villainess has taken an interest in him. Because the train belonged to the Alphonte Academy, rescue forces arrive way faster than anyone expected. Thanks to all the extra security measures, barely anyone gets hurt. Before long, everyone arrives right in front of the famous academy. After all that chaos, this is the first chance he's had to actually check out his reward. Back at the VI count, he wasn't acting like a villain. Finding a neutral person in a place full of happy people was impossible. He opens up his status panel to check everything while he's still inside the carriage. Desperate survival is definitely going to help him last longer in fights. There was a battle-maniac warrior who only cared about fighting, a unhinged sword saint who attacks anyone who steps within 3 feet of her. At the end of the day, all he really cares about is getting skills that will keep him alive. After the long ride, he finally makes it to his destination. Even though he survived that whole mess, he gets off the carriage with a sour look on his face. He had a lot of heavy stuff weighing on his mind that day. He warned him that the monster stone falling into his train car was no accident. He also told the kid it'd be best to stay far away from anyone tied to the Tristan duped him. In an academy crawling with rumors and lies, it's no surprise she's one of the main candidates to be the final boss. They were supposed to pair up for sparring, but everyone already picked a partner, leaving him all alone. Because of that, his opponent gets assigned automatically. Sure enough, the person left over to be his partner is a giant girl. That's Aliyah, the ultimate prodigy of this world. She's the actual protagonist of the game. At that moment, she's helping him up. Seeing who he has to fight, he knows he's in serious trouble. A woman wearing glasses watches the commotion caused by the student and thinks she's lost her mind. The official has a lot of questions, starting with where the girl has been all this time. With her back turned, the girl mentions that some punks tried to eliminate her by dropping a massive boulder on the academy train. She's about to mention that if she hurries, she can still catch the last duel until she notices the newcomer is in it. She still remembers the ridiculous face he was making back when they were in the train car together. Elsewhere, back in the arena, Dawood is shaking like a leaf. He knows his stats are terrible, and if he takes a single hit from this woman, it's game over. He understands this could actually work in his favor. He remembers his status window, saying his stats increase in times of need, scaling with the level of danger. With his information advantage and the stat boost, he might actually survive this. Elsewhere, the ridiculously strong woman in front of him actually looks like she pies him. She wants him to admit that he's far too weak. She says that if he confesses, she might even give up on giving him a beating. She says she hates that girl and her entire family, calling them all absolute monsters. Dawood knows she's bold for saying that, but deep down she isn't wrong. The problem is he was just in the same room as the girl, but the woman says his face reminds her of that disgusting brat. He tells her to bring it on. To provoke her, he says he actually likes that girl a lot. He's lying, but if he wants her coming at him full force, he has to commit to the act. Furious, she charges straight at him with everything she's got. Even though he manages to dodge, the short-haired girl is impressed that such a weak loser actually managed to dodge her attack. She decides to stop holding back and crush him once and for all. The desperate survival skill activates at EX rank. He just closes his eyes and throws a direct punch right to her face, instantly dazing her. It's such a devastating power that everyone around him instantly starts looking at him in a different light. As soon as the hit lands, even he can't believe how much raw power just came out of his fist. On his very first day of class, he casually takes down the main character of this world. One of the evaluators points out that before this duel, the guy had zero combat skills. Since his chances of beating the promising warrior, Aliyah, were zero, he must have used some illegal tool or substance. That idea doesn't sit well with everyone and is tough to swallow, especially for the Margrave who sponsors Aliyah. In the end, if he's a fraud, it'll show soon enough. They decide to just wait and see. This year is packed with interesting new students, and some are so unique they require special treatment. Elsewhere, terrifying rumors and pictures of Dawood start popping up all over the Academy newspapers. Obviously, he hates this sudden fame. Right at that moment, the system pops up a notification saying a specific person's trust level just went up. The only thing he cannot understand is why the final boss, who shouldn't even know he exists, is suddenly interested in him. That doesn't bother him at all. The weirdest part is that the girl he just dueled also pops up on the list of interested people. While he's trying to figure all this out, someone starts pounding aggressively on his room door. He has no idea what she wants and decides to stay dead silent to see if she'll just go away. Hearing him answer, she celebrates, saying she knew he was in there and demands to know why he didn't open the door sooner. Standing all alone in the empty hallway, Aliyah starts processing the whole situation. Even though she backed off for now, she's not happy at all with his attitude. Thinking back on that conversation, she remembers the other girls and still feels like something weird is going on. As she bends down to pick it up, the other person tells her to watch where she's going. The girl with light hair then asks if she's hurt. Instantly, her body tells her to run away as fast as she can and never look back. Purely on instinct, her hand reaches straight for the hilt of her sword. She didn't mean to do it on purpose. It was just total self-defense instinct. She stares deep into the girl's eyes. Elnor Tristan is actually just standing there, holding out her hand to help her up. Seeing how calm Elnor is, Aliyah thinks maybe she didn't even notice her defensive reaction. Still shaking, she hands the food over, figuring Elnor didn't even bother reacting because she doesn't see her as a threat. Except Elnor immediately asks how she knows the exact location of a guy's room. When the short-haired girl mentions she was with him just a little while ago, the student sole president makes up a rule on the spot, declaring that Aliyah is no longer allowed inside Dawood's room. She imagines there really is something between them and decides she needs to keep a very close eye on all of this from now on. Everyone else seems proud of their results, but he's the only one worried because his biggest problem is that girl. The systems alerts him that her curiosity has jumped to level 5, showing that her interest is only growing by the day. He also notices that Elnor's confidence has gone up significantly. Now she's standing in front of everyone, announcing that she'll be supervising their group's exam. It would be strange if nothing went off the rails during the test. But it seems like this shift has something to do with a recent meeting. Even though they're surprised by the setup, everyone keeps following her down the path. Dawood looks ahead and sees the room entrance, up ahead, sealed off. This means the event has already started, and it's actually a trap, not a test. The main mission of this event is to save that person. Dawood understands these people belong to the main character's party. Remembering the story clearly, this exact spot is where everyone meets. Everyone gathered in this room is crucial for the future of the story. He calls out loudly, telling them the central hall is the best place to regroup. Getting everyone's attention, he lets them know that since they're already here, he's going to take a different path. He knows everything will be fine because he didn't technically lie. After all, nothing is more important than saving his own skin. Beating Alia probably gave his words some weight. So now he just needs to hide out until the event ends. When he turns around, something feels off. A guy with a creepy face says he's there to fix the power and asks him to lead the way. Right then, the system pops up a danger warning. Elsewhere, he walks through the dark, wet hallway. I replies that he must have had a plan in mind when he left. Either way, it feels like something bad is about to happen to all of them first. They mock how ridiculously easy it was to fool Dawood. While chatting about it, they watched Dawood walking ahead, with his back turned to them. This guy loves to brag about being such a professional mercenary that he can tell anyone's level just by looking at how they walk. Dawood turns around unfazed, acting like he doesn't even know who the guy is. Looking at the guy's creepy face, he readies himself to see if this desperate fight for his life will earn him a better rank this time, or maybe a lower grade since his enemy isn't really a big deal. Elsewhere, a violent battle is breaking out somewhere else, and a man gets slammed against the wall. Right after that, he gets hit with a barrage of arrows. Several mercenaries start floating, engulfed in flames. Turns out the whole group decided to turn back and help Dawood, who had gone off by himself. The girl gives the order for ice sheets to freeze all those idiots solid. Elsewhere, not too far away, Elnor needs to put a few people in their place. Because of that, she's crushing these useless guys without a shred of mercy. It's pretty clear none of them have any real talent. She has to squeeze a few of them pretty hard to get them to talk. She asks if the mercenary is currently at that location. After putting the pressure on, one of the goons leaks that the boss came along with them. The answer is simple. Someone tried to take her out, and the Crescent Moon is a mercenary who can shapeshift into whoever he eliminates. She realizes Dawood used himself as bait to draw the strongest enemy away. Hearing that, they ask what relationship those two actually have. Elsewhere, Dawood is having a field day with the guy who tried to kill him. The enemy has no idea why his powers aren't working. Elsewhere, MC is taking a casual stroll between every hit. The seasoned mercenary sent to eliminate the threat is getting absolutely wrecked. Once the guy notices he's using Tristan's sword technique, it becomes crystal clear he picked a fight with the wrong guy. MC says he doesn't plan on killing him. He just needs him to tell the others to stay away from Lady Tristan. The mercenary stares at him and asks what he'll do if they go after her again. The mercenary asks if that girl is really that important to him. He answers that she definitely is, more than he could ever imagine. As soon as he turns around, the odds of the villain favoring him spike enormously high, and the notification just keeps spamming his screen. Back at the academy office, things are looking pretty messy. She cannot understand why the chancellor got so mad, but tracking down the organization on short notice is tough with this much backlog. They must be seriously determined, because this incident feels different from the rest. The only problem is Dawood. He's the only one with no official record of achievement, which makes zero sense. It almost feels like he's intentionally trying to hide from the academy staff. Still, there's a seed of doubt and deep down. She doesn't want to believe it. After catching the object tossed her way, the girl asks what she means by that. The issue is that she seems spaced out all day and can't even focus. She admits it's because she started taking an interest in someone. She finds it hard to believe the girl could actually fall for some country bumpkin. If the Archduke finds out about this, things are going to turn ugly. At the end of the day, he's actually treating her well, whereas normally she wouldn't trust anyone. Currently, the academic team is working on a project to show results, and he can expect good news down the road. It's about the freshman orientation ceremony, where his class will be assigned from archer, warrior, mage, or priest. Class specializations depend on your main focus. The catch is, he has to deal with an incident that's going to go down during the ceremony. To make matters worse, a new skill pops up that catches him off guard. He can now copy one of the final boss's skills. The thing is, he knows something that's about to change the game, and that's why he's standing right in front of the old equipment warehouse. Using a boost of agility, he manages to leap right inside. All thanks to an agility potion, the shadow mask, and a pair of hiking boots. After burning through that much energy, he needs to eat a stamina recovery cookie. Now it's time to start digging through all this junk. It's the divinity peak and sensor. holding 1,000 years of ancient power. When he finally finds what he needs, he can't help but celebrate. Things get even worse when he looks up and sees that massive stack of boxes about to collapse. When the boxes finally fall, a gorgeous black-haired girl lands right in his lap. This girl is Yuria, the main boss of Chapter 2. The item he just grabbed actually belongs to her, which is why she's always hanging around here. It doesn't take long before the system flashes a high danger alert. He even apologizes for waking her up. She doesn't give a about his apology and goes straight on the attack. Suddenly, it turns into a total life or death fight. The sharp tip of her chain keeps missing him by a hair every single time. He tries to explain that it's all a misunderstanding, and he wasn't trying anything weird while she was asleep. At the end of the day, messing with someone this dangerous was a huge mistake. Luckily, he knows exactly what to do to avoid getting hit. After defending himself as best he can, all he can do now is hope for the best. Since he can't run away either, he asks her to hold on for a second. Looking around, he understands this place is her private area, isolated from everyone else. He gets an idea and offers her a cookie. She refuses to fall for cheap tricks and sees right through his attempt to bribe her with food. She decides to treat the whole thing as a minor mistake once she finds out who he is. He decides to leave it at that, since this relationship could come in handy later, especially because this weren't even supposed to meet this early in the story. He tells her to lay low a bit longer and promises he'll be back. Talking to her about her only surviving relative is fine. The next day, the students go on a full tour of the academy. The blonde girl explains that everyone needs to pick their major and minor subjects during the ceremony. Dawood knows this tutorial event is meant to give them more background on this new world. Dawood knows full well that place is all that's left from the ancient war between heaven and hell. That's where God's servants and his blessed warriors sealed away the demons. This zone is crucial because the demons can't be allowed to break free under any circumstances. That includes keeping tight control over the Elephant Academy and other places like it. A student asks if they can get a look at the place, and the teacher says they're allowed near the Seraph barrier. He has one more thing to do first. Angels can move mountains and dry up oceans. The Seraphs, who are even stronger, are the ones who built that barrier. That barrier is the only reason the Academy can even operate so close to such a dangerous spot. The other students get annoyed seeing a nobody act all special just because he got a little attention. This item acts like a portable offering to the gods. Judging by what he's seeing, the ritual is working flawlessly. This will give him access to beings an ordinary person couldn't even dream of reaching. With that quick trick done, he finally gains access to the celestial realms. He sees the higher-ups chewing out a recruit. Telling him leveling the ground doesn't mean digging up everything in sight. The boss notices the guy stopped working and demands to know what his problem is. While Dawood watches the whole thing unfold, anyone slacking off gets chewed out hard. Everyone there needs to know what they're doing. To unload a truck packed with sacred mud bricks. The real nightmare is that the pile of bricks seems endless. Orders keep flying back and forth, and Dawood just stays off to the side taking it all in. To put it simply, angels operate like an army. They have a strict chain of command, and this game follows very clear rules. He knew that what they really wanted was actually pretty simple. He set the table with the best food he had and gave thanks for the meal. One of them even wanted to ask for a bite, but didn't have a high enough rank to ask permission and come down. Most of the angels can't even believe he actually sent food, so they decide to take a quick break. The angel asks what he desires, but he needs a reason. He promises to do his best to live up to expectations. The angel thinks Dawood is standing there, wondering why someone so grand would help a nobody like him. He says that's why he ended up caught by a cruel yet somehow loving monster. Another angel comments that any normal human would be consumed by fear immediately. After everything, he can barely believe the angel actually said that about a cruel yet loving monster. Not to mention that whole great man thing. Since it's advice from an angel, he really needs to think it over carefully. The blessings are great, but that's also a problem, since he still doesn't have any major traits to show for it. Full of confidence, he replies that she'll be arriving very soon. A bit flustered, he says he's not lying, and that the place is about to get packed. Knowing the story, he knows she won't take long to show up. Sure enough, Aaliyah arrives right on cue, asking if this is the monster research department. He puts his plan into action and asks if what she said earlier about getting to know each other better is still on the table. She even recalls how hard it was just to get his attention. She even remembers the expression Elnor had at that exact moment. Now she sees him gently reaching his hand out toward her. She figures nothing he tried before worked out. His new strategy is to make everyone jealous. Now things are about to get a whole lot more interesting at this fake dungeon academy. He tells her to have a little faith, reminding her he hasn't forgotten the time she tried to hit him. The monster steps out of the shadows, ready to sink its teeth into them. Things get worse when two more of those creepy creatures drop down from the ceiling. The short-haired girl takes his advice and immediately rushes into action. Annoyed, she tells him to stop barking orders and actually help her fight. She listens to the warning and parries the daggers away at the very last second. Right after, he warns her that another is coming straight from behind. Everything happens just as he predicted, and two strange monsters start attacking non-stop. He actually wants to help, but he can't. He's just an extra with Frank stats. Since this is just a training match, his desperate survival skill won't trigger at all. He tries to figure out how to activate it, especially since everything here requires perfect execution. He spots the girl sprinting straight toward him with her sword out. In reality, I is just running over to protect him from a monster sneaking up behind him. It's clear she'll tear apart anything that gets too close to her master. Her performance is so impressive that they end up shattering the previous record. She's confused. After all, she fought alone and still broke the test record. It's hard to believe a two-person challenge was beaten by just one girl, but he brushes it off and says they just got lucky. Just to push her buttons. It's Percy, the director of the Academy's spell creation department. Turns out several high-ranking examiners are keeping a close eye on the student's performance. When asked if he has his eyes on the girl, he replies that his real focus is actually the boy. To anyone else, the girl looks like the powerhouse. The guy was the true key to victory. Every move he made showed perfect judgment, cold, and calculated for every single threat. Confident in what he saw, he announces that he and the director of spell creation just made a bet to see if the duo can break the next record. Dawood steps up immediately, promising they can easily manage at least that much. The mage gets furious hearing his response, tossing a bottle into the air. Elnor mentions there's something she wishes she could remember. That's why no matter how much they accomplish, every member of the Tristan family ends up dying miserably. The girl with glasses then mentions that two freshmen paired up, specifically Dawood and the warrior candidate. It's the exact same girl who fought him in that duel. Elnor finds the coincidence weird and takes a moment to process the news. She takes a deep breath, but it realizes staying calm at that moment is impossible. Gripping her sword, she asks what he's planning to do. She admits she knows how skilled he is. Dawood knows it's easy to hit the monster's weak spots, since these artificial creatures always follow the exact same pattern, since he can't just tell her that. Percy gets annoyed, hearing he wants max difficulty, knowing he's relying entirely on his partner's skill. He asks Alia to keep trusting him, reminding her that he's kept them both safe so far. Elsewhere, the mage sips her tea, unable to believe Conrad's attitude. The green-haired instructor believes that even if things get dangerous, the duo will find a way. Kanado activates the hardest test mode, demanding the freshmen prove their true worth. Seeing that Dawood won't change his mind, Alia decides to back his decision. Now that the choice is made, there's no turning back. All they can do now is push forward. Conrad jacks up the difficulty so high that Dawood's system triggers an imminent danger warning. With that, he's more than ready to take on whatever threat comes next. That's huge for him, considering he needs to destroy giant monsters made entirely of pure energy. Even his partner gets excited watching him spring into action. Seeing the absurd power they're up against, the monsters start whimpering. Now people are starting to suspect he was just playing weak all along to lay low. As he says this, the two students go all out and wipe out the monsters. The two are working together as a perfect team now. Dawood gets ready to use the Tristan family sword technique. Both of them did an incredible job showing off enormous synergy. Mething flashes brightly out in the dark, right after the loud sound of something being destroyed echoes through the area. Conrad steps in, so hyped up he just couldn't stay on the sidelines. He praises the warrior candidate too. With that, he announces he won the bet he made with the mage. The duo is thrilled since that's not something just any student can pull off. The girl asks him why he's always so calm. He thinks to himself that he acts that way because he does know what's going to happen. Now she asks for a fist bump, thinking that's just what friends do. Having no choice, he gives her the awkward fist bump and gains even more points with her. Her curiosity stat rises to level 5. close to reaching the trust level. As he's processing this, someone nearby comments that they can't tell if the girl is friendly or just plain weird. He notices his survival instinct didn't kick in, which means she isn't planning to hurt him. He calls her president and claims that even while training with the other girl, she was the only one on his mind. Even he can't believe he had the nerve to drop a line like that so suddenly. He starts stammering, unable to form a real sentence, and she immediately realizes this might be one of those complicated friendships. She hands him a letter, and he has no clue if it's a love confession or a challenge, especially since none of this ever happened in the original story. When he opens the letter, he sees she wants him as her date to the freshman party. And being her partner isn't even the real issue here. While he's trying to process all of this, someone knocks on his door. He goes to answer it and finds his training partner standing right there. He can barely believe this other girl had the exact same idea. She gives him a wink. Now he's officially screwed, because everyone in this world is enormous. With shaking hands, he opens the paper, already guessing another invitation is coming his way. An invite to be her partner at the party. Things are looking ugly to choose, because now he has to choose the final boss and the female lead. Complaining won't change anything, though, because both letters are sitting right in front of him. His only option is to bluff his way through and try to recruit both of them at the exact same time. The hall is quickly filling up, getting packed with people. Aliyah complains about all the noise, saying the place feels more like a slaughterhouse. He tries to play it cool and forces himself to stay calm. Just like that, the two of them start slowly walking through the middle of the hall. He managed to get a clone so he could pull off a double date. The catch is that the clone has multiple personalities. Because of that, he decides to turn on the serious night setting. So the clone stays dead silent the whole time. It's just one monster out there, but it looks like they wanted to run a few tests on it before it managed to escape. The stage is set. The clone will take the female lead, and he'll stick with the final boss. Immediately, she notices a strange scent on him. He plays it off like it's nothing, saying it's probably just the flowers nearby. Seeing her reaction is the moment he understands how powerful those pheromones actually are. The system confirms the effect worked on the target, while she tries her absolute best to act like she's not into him. Trying to play it cool, she suggests they head over to the festival to check out the food stalls. He needs to make sure they don't run into each other. While he's trying to figure out his next move, she seems lost in her own world. With that, the two of them head over to a wild boar skewer stand. He feels like he needs to keep some distance from her. Most importantly, he has to make sure Elia stays far away from both of them. After getting some food, she decides she wants to shop for accessories. The problem is, even after buying her a terrible present, she ends up loving it anyway. After that, he brings up their future class tracks at the academy. He tells her there's something very specific he needs to learn in the theology track. Curious, she asks what could have possibly caught his attention there. He knows holy skills are perfect for his survival and will be crucial down the line. She asks if it's because of her family's curse, the one that eventually drives every member enormous. Mental training won't fix it, but he already knows the perfect solution. He knows pulling that off is nearly impossible, which is why the Tristan family is still so feared. Smugly, she says she knew it all along, though she adds that he really is a weird guy. The beasts inside look enraged. As they walk together, Aliyah thinks the guy might be mad at her since he's being so quiet. The issue is, she has no idea how to deal with guys like him. In fact, she doesn't know how to deal with guys at all. She points out that all these monsters are being used for academy experiments, showing just how irresponsible the professors here really are. The alarm blar and the creature starts growling and baring its teeth. Panicking, she freezes in place, paralyzed with fear. The monster's roar is so loud, it can be heard all the way back where the main character is with the other girl. When she asks why he did that, he just responds that it's his job. She's confused by this, since he usually talks a lot, and now he's acting weird. More monsters are breaking out of their cages. In the middle of the chaos, she calls out to him as wild beasts pour out, each one terrifying than the last. Having no other choice, she searches the floor and manages to improvise a weapon to defend herself. She stands face to face with the monsters. Dawood rushes off saying he'll handle the situation and tells his companion to go find one of the priests. Confused, she tells him to wait and explain what's going on. Elsewhere, down in the basement, young Aliyah is visibly exhausted. A moment later, the clone regenerates and asks if she took down all those loose monsters by herself. She mentions that one of the larger beasts escaped and he understands that bear roar from earlier must have been it. If he fails, he'll face a massive penalty. He has to prevent a failure no matter what. Mion shouts for everyone to hold on until the professors and knights arrive. Mion else tries to raise a barrier, urging them to make sure it doesn't break. That beast will do whatever it takes to break in and devour the students. Elnor gets furious while trying to convince the priest, but he simply refuses, saying there's nothing he can do. While she tries in vain to convince him, Dawood runs past and announces he'll handle it himself. However, the player had received a divine ultimatum, which is now combined with the priest's rosary. The available skills are now skepticism and sacred study. Right in front of him is the reason his X-rank, desperate survival skill kicked in. Thanks to asceticism, all his extra attribute points get dumped straight into Constitution. That gives him just enough juice to activate the holy barrier. As he holds up the shield, he pours every last drop of his strength into keeping that barrier standing. Everyone's stunned when they realize he's using the angel's blessing. The monster keeps thrashing around, but he holds the line firmly. Elnor just stares in complete shock at what Dawood is pulling off. The barrier holds strong as the massive monster keeps slamming against it. The girl gets angry, asking if this guy is really supposed to be a professor, when he won't even lift a finger to help. She excuses herself, saying she took so long because she was knocked out in the basement. Everyone watches in disbelief, blown away by the enormous amount of effort he's putting in. His words about dying if he didn't protect her keep looping in her head. Seeing what he's doing at that moment, it really seems like he was telling the truth about having no ulterior motive. He's putting his life on the line just to save the Tristan family and Lady Elnor. Anyone watching can see just how hard he's pushing himself. Aya knows there can't be any other reason for him to go this far. Elnor felt it from the start too. She was sick and tired of getting her hopes up, only to end up disappointed. Finding courage she didn't know she had, she grips her sword and charges straight at the monster, while Dawood pushes himself to the absolute limit to hold off the beast. The white-haired, re-dyed girl feels like she's finally found something truly worth fighting for. She throws herself at the monster. The giant beast feels the full weight of her strike instantly. Even he's stunned by the sheer power she's using to suppress the monster. This is the true power of the Tristan family's daughter. Watching her fight, he instantly realizes that this is the authentic Tristan swordsmanship. They seem evenly matched at first, until she decides to pour even more power into her attacks. Once that monster becomes her target, it really has no way out. Her attacks are brutal, but there's one move in particular that's absolutely terrifying. The second she spots an opening, she unleashes it without a shred of mercy. Methinks so destructive that almost no one has ever witnessed it up close. Dawood concludes out that the professors who wanted to experiment on live monsters were all tied to the Tristan family. She shouts at everyone to get out while they still can, telling them to hurry up and fall back. Things take a turn real quick, and he yells out to warn her. Hearing his voice, her eyes widen in shock. By the time she spins around, he's already right there, jumping in to cover her back once again. When she turns and sees what just happened, she realizes things spiraled out of control in the blink of an eye. By the time he comes to, he's in a different place. As he opens his eyes, flipping through a book, she adds that all the other students escaped without a single scratch. He assumes she's here because he used the angelic blessings, but she tells him she's actually here to deliver bad news and even worse news. That's the last thing he wanted, but he braces himself to hear the rest. She finds his reaction pretty fascinating. Even when demons are mentioned, he doesn't seem bothered at all. He points out that he shouldn't reveal too much, considering he has no idea what she's actually planning. She nods, telling him she understands why he's so frustrated with the whole situation. She explains that the current leadership has lost control of society. Because of that, they're desperate for talented people, willing to go to the ends of the earth to find them. She agrees he's right and says the Golden Triangle is now their biggest headache. Even though they seem like friendly neighbors on the surface, this Golden Triangle refers to the three major superpowers: the Elephant Academy, the Tribal Alliance, and the Sacred Empire. It's almost like someone is forcibly gagging anyone from leaking any information. Adelante thinks he's pretty sharp for putting it all together. If that happens, an all-out war will break out between the three superpowers. She then pulls out an object and asks if he recognizes the crest on it. Just by reading his face, she can tell he knows way more than she thought. Since she can't explain everything out loud, she hands him an item. which he immediately recognizes as an interdimensional key. She adds that if he proves his worth, she'll give him even better rewards down the line. Honestly, though, he wasn't even in the mood to answer those kinds of questions. With a smile, she casually adds that if he fails, the world really might end. He finds it creepy how she can talk about apocalyptic stakes with such a calm face. In her mind, the grand plan can only succeed through those three. He walks off lost in thought about the end of the world. Clutching his new item, he decides to worry about that later. On his way out, he runs straight into Coronado. The professor tells him he was actually looking for him. He hands him a paper with a temporary assignment. Starting tomorrow, he's going to have to attend classes with a specific group. He ends up in the same group as the class president, Elnor, along with the vice president, Elia. He understands he's going to be taking classes alongside those upperclassmen. While the professor tries to explain the lesson, Elnor interrupts, asking why he's diving so deep into theory. She argues that this information is only useful in an actual battle. As the two argue over who's right, our main guy is caught in the middle. Praying it stays a harmless debate. Despite their different views, both of them look ready to settle the argument with their fists. The situation gets tricky fast, especially since they keep drawing the entire class's attention straight to him. The system shows his proficiency with the Tristan family sword technique has reached 58%. His basic deep breathing technique also gets a solid level boost. That's exactly why she becomes the final boss, thanks to this monstrous close combat ability. On top of that, his reward for the warrior candidate is ready to claim. He keeps trying to figure out what all of this really means. In their next class, they're heading into the forest for a practical survival training session. They need to enter the forest and bring back anything they think could be useful. He adds that he'll be evaluating the students alongside the council president. Naturally, Elnor isn't thrilled about that idea at all. The warrior candidate thinks the instructions are far too vague. At that moment, he has no clue how to balance all of this. He's still lost in thought when Alia walks up and asks if they can team up. In reality, he just wants to stay as far away from her as possible, so she stays put with the main cast. She stands there shocked, never expecting to hear words like that from him. It takes a moment for the reality to sink in. One of the girls in Eli's group really doesn't like how he's treating her friend. That's when another guy steps in to confront him about it. Dawood just wants to mind his own business, but people keep bothering him. Now, this guy asks what his deal really is with the warrior candidate. Annoyed, he says someone as strong as Alia shouldn't be wasting her time talking to a nobody like Dawood. Looking him dead in the eye without showing a shred of fear, Dawood tells him the duel was 100% real. With a mocking tone, Dawood tells him it must really suck to watch his ultimate goal get surpassed all at once. They're going to bet on who can get the highest score on the task. For Dawood, this offer plays right into his hands. To make matters worse, the teacher wants to talk to her about the help he asked for to evaluate the students. She even adds that if he's not happy with her evaluation, he should let her observe that student up close to be sure. Watching the scene while holding a cross, the young girl feels her friend is acting different today. Her eyes are locked on the area where the warrior candidate is fighting. Even the monsters are suffering the consequences just for getting in her way. A red-haired guy notices that the strongest monsters are all gathering in one spot. Right after that, they hear a cry for help. There really is something off with the warrior candidate because her aura, which used to be calm, now feels heavy. No matter how much she tries to hide it, she's furious. She calmly approaches her and asks how she's been holding up lately. Her friend pushes further, offering to help if something's bothering her. But Elliot turns her back and says she doesn't know what she's talking about. She didn't realize it was that obvious, and she knows there's no lying to Trisha. Now, when her friend mentions that he might not have meant it that way, she tries to figure out what she means. Elsewhere, Dawood keeps running to win the bet he made with Talon. He knows the guy is at his absolute breaking point, especially after being publicly humiliated forever. As the negative influence takes hold of the guy, Dawood gets his reward, triggering the rule of evil and receiving a command. Tennant seems obsessed with hitting the guy in front of him no matter what. He tells Dawood to stop acting childish, fight like a man, and stop running. Hearing the plea, the guy acts like he has no other choice. He suggests that in that case, they should just split the rewards 50-50. Determined to crush him for good, pouring all his strength and murder attempt into the strike, he prepares his strongest attack to throw the spear. What happens next leaves the blonde guy wide-eyed. He's not the only one shocked. Dawood is stunned too. Both of them freeze as the warrior candidate suddenly appears and stops the deadly spear mid-air. Dawood understands this must be the first time they've met since the monsters escaped. To make sure he gets the message, she takes a step toward him. Yeah, this really is the first time they've seen each other since she wiped the floor with him. Elsewhere, Dawood is just wondering where this girl came from. She ignores the fake small talk and demands to know why he's chasing Dawood, asking if he's really trying to mess with her friend. She points her sword at him and demands he apologize for messing with the wrong person. She tells him that who she hangs out with is none of his business. She asks if he wants to get knocked out in one hit again, just like last time. The moment she says that, he remembers getting crushed by that bastard. Realizing he could have gotten seriously hurt, he apologizes to the guy. As she her sword, he promises to never go near him again without permission. Now he's wondering if she even considers them friends anymore. Dawood concludes they're still friends in a way. Before long, someone else comes calling for him again. Trisha stops right in front of him, asking if they've met before, and decides to introduce herself. Since he still has a choice, he simply turns around and walks away. Now it's clear that he's the real problem. His eyes go wide, unable to believe what he's looking at. Instructor Conrad is furious after having to fight the student council president, who's now sulking on the ground. He tells the kid he's doing better than before, but he knows the guy is just playing dumb. Still, he has to show what he managed to collect. When he opens his pouch, he reveals way more than anyone else got, making Percy desperately want it all. At least this time, she talks to the professor, who gives everyone permission to leave, and tells her to take care of Elnor. Having no other choice, he just tells her he'll do his best. She thinks he better try hard if he wants us to get out of there in one piece. Elsewhere, he heads to the spell creation department to hunt for more points. Percy's surprised to hear that he already wants to use his single wish. As he talks, he notices several other students nearby looking awkward and annoyed just by him being there. He notices he received a reward from Alia's gift, but he keeps a somber look on his face. He knows he's still far too weak by the Purifier's standards, which is why he decides to make his request now. The second she hears that, she concludes he's lost his mind. He repeats his request with an even serious look, as if it's an absolute necessity. She just stares at him in complete shock, unable to process what she's hearing. She tells him she can make it. He shows her the paper, guaranteeing she has to fulfill normal requests, saying something this simple: child's play for the Dean of Spellcraft. That makes her even more nervous, but she's sure he must have his reasons. As he thanks her, she still can't believe the Chancellor actually let him have special access. She even claims it's going to help save the world. She gets worked up and starts talking to herself right in front of him without even realizing it. He also brings up the item she promised him and Alia from the Vision Vault, demanding she hand it over immediately. Things are going smoothly until a mysterious man calls out to him. The man has an intense presence and asks for the guy's name. With a smile, he remarks on what a huge coincidence it is for them to run into each other here. In reality, he's the head of the Purifier chapter and leader of the Raging Fire, and he mentions hearing plenty of rumors about the young man. He invites the boy out to dinner to hang out, saying they have other things to discuss. Elsewhere, the man just keeps a poker face, waiting for a positive answer. Still processing what's happening, Dawood just says he'll think about it. This is a terrible spot to be in, because even though he said he'd think about it, the guy ignored him. He's already tangled with the mercenaries hunting Miss Tristan, Elnor herself, and even the warrior candidate. On top of that, Yuria and the mid-boss are in the mix too. To make matters worse, the Chancellor's words about the end of the world keep echoing in his head. With no other choice, he knocks on the room door, realizing no one is answering, and they're taking too long to open up. Hearing her response, he tells her she doesn't even need to come out, since he just wants to talk about something quick. The girl next to her simply reminds her that she needs to return her book on time. Truth was, she hadn't even read them yet. While her friend kept talking, she noticed her put a finger to her lips, asking her to be quiet. He told her he was taking her to a place called Twilight Eyes. The moment her friend heard that name, he told her he could only explain once they were together alone. She stood there behind the door, while he waited patiently on the other side. That day, though, she was pouting because her brother had messed with her again. Even though he kept saying he was sorry and wouldn't pick on her anymore, all she wanted was for him to leave her alone. He claimed he was just playing around. His mean prank ended with an apology and a bag full of cookies. He mentioned that thanks to the Baron, he might get promoted straight to apprentice knight. To her, it sounded like a total fantasy. He was just an idiot who spent all his time annoying his little sister. She asked if he'd actually make it back alive if he went to war, and he joked that he might just run out of luck. He told her that if he became a guardian, he'd always protect her. All of that was just a dream. Realizing he'd woken her up, Dawood apologized, saying he was still getting used to things in the city. He also apologized for saying they weren't friends earlier. He said he brought her some cookies because he tried them, thought they were delicious, and remembered he had a friend who might like them too. Calling her his friend, he told her he really needed her help and asked her to come somewhere with him. This time, they were doing everything they could regarding the teaching materials. She was also going to double-check the budget fees for every club. Apparently, they were getting one from the Tribal Alliance, who was almost certainly part of the faction that fell during the coup. The girl with glasses asked if Elnor knew who Lil Garuda was, assuming she might have heard of him since he was so famous. Next semester, a real saint from the Holy Empire is going to show up. What really gets her is that this saint is coming all by herself. Pretty soon, the academy is going to have both a saint and the daughter of a tribal chief under the same roof. With every passing day, her rivals just keep getting stronger. She looks lost for a second, then suddenly mutters that she forgot something. She's just in a terrible mood today. Elsewhere, high up in an observatory, a couple is taking in the view. He tells her he has no choice and that this is the only way to pull it off, asking her to just bear with him a little longer. Panicking, the girl asks what he's planning to do in the middle of the night. As long as they launch into the air, they'll land in the right spot. Despite how awkward his companion is acting, he tells Alia to pay close attention and keep her eyes wide open. Smirking, he flashes the card and tells her everything's under control. Dawood tells her to keep her eyes on him, since things might get a little dangerous. But he promises she doesn't need to worry because he'll always be there for her. He makes it clear that they're currently in the interdimensional realm. She shouldn't touch a single thing because it could be dangerous. He tells her not to worry about the unstable gravity and says they need to climb higher up. Trying her best to trust him, she closes her eyes and leaps. Except things go wrong, and she actually starts falling. She feels like she's losing her mind, suddenly remembering when she was little and had to leave everything behind, escaping through the back door. Back then, tears in her eyes, she confessed she wasn't stupid. She knew their parents were never coming back. She wanted to show him she wasn't a little kid anymore, and knew exactly what was going on. After all, they only had each other now. Hearing that broke his heart, but there was just no way that could happen. He made it clear that if they stayed together, she just had to focus on getting as far away as possible. He promised that as soon as she was safe, right in the middle of pouring her heart out, someone suddenly grabbed her arm. The second she realized Dawood was holding her, it was the ghost of the Gregory Pavilion, clearly visible as they floated together on the rock. He explained they'd need to make a run for it soon, which is why they were going to use that bag. Things got creepy, like something was about to swallow them whole. That's exactly what it felt like, as if they were inside the mouth of a massive monster. That hideous giant monster looked just like a massive fish. He yelled at her to collect everything the creature dropped. Elsewhere, the giant monster opened its mouth wide, preparing to swallow them both in one bite. In the blink of an eye, they were back on the ground. He grabbed her hand and asked if she was all right, and if she was hurt anywhere. Furious, she instantly yanked her hand away, covered in monster slime. He admitted it was all calculated because he really wanted to sneakily snatch the Gregory ghosts. Absolute. She couldn't believe she had been woken up just to collect gross monster slime, even though she gave him the cold shoulder. To her, though, the reason was obvious. She had just floated, pressed up against him under a romantic pink sky. She glanced at the bag and asked if that was what she thought it was, though obviously he couldn't read her mind. Holding the card, he replies that he already knew she gave him that gift, for this exact reason. He smiles and explains that Percy hit him with a lightning bolt. He tells her they came to hand over the ectoplasm they got from the interdimensional realm. She says the magic tower would pay a fortune for it, but he makes it clear he doesn't want money. If she does, the consciousness inside the item will gradually awaken and get stronger and stronger. He thinks to himself that he needs it because the main story's bosses are all demon level. He knows she has many questions in her head, like how he found the location of the interdimensional realm. However, he genuinely believes that his studies and daily routine are being influenced by Atalante. Even so, she sees that the kid knows exactly what he's doing. which explains why she gives him such special treatment. Either way, she agrees to help infuse the item with a psychic entity, while he shifts his focus to the main quest of this chapter, the purifier. Putting on some lip gloss, she replies that she just got there. She sarcastically adds that she's only been waiting for him for 6 hours. She explains that it's her first time coming to a place like this, so she thought it was better to find a spot nearby to get ready. She's so comfortable around him that she casually grabs his hand and starts pulling him along. He never imagined Twilight's color would be this packed. There are so many people ahead of them that he doubts they'll ever get inside. That's when he spots Talon and wonders what that guy is doing there. He looks to the sides and notices the student council president is right there with him. She turns to the staff member and asks if she can use her authority as student council president to head inside. Dawood asks him not to wear it today and to make sure the rest of the staff takes theirs off too. The story really does take a turn in an unexpected direction. The purifier catches his attention. He whispers to her that he's going to take the boy to a private VIP room. She hears him promise it'll only take a moment. The man begins to speak. He jumps straight to the point, asking if the kid knows why he was called here. Since security is weaker during the full moon festival, he's planning to unleash a total massacre. After releasing monsters everywhere, he'll use mercenaries to handle the knights. The kid makes it clear he already warned the chancellor about these plans and asks the guy what he has to say for himself. He's definitely no ordinary kid. After laying it all out, the boy just stays quiet and lets the man talk. What he doesn't realize, though, is that the girl is far more of a monster than he thinks. She's not just a pretty face. She's the student council president. It's honestly ridiculous that they think she'd actually buy that story. They claim she has to come with them because demon worshippers are about to attack. One of them even has the nerve to put a hand on her shoulder and cite imperial law. Absolutely furious, she grabs the guy's head with pure brute force. That brutal beatdown instantly gets the attention of the other mercenaries sent to grab her. Since she heard them say to take her alive, she isn't holding back for a second. Except she has no intention of just roughing them up a little. Unlike them, she doesn't need to hold back at all. The more she beats them down, the more she seems to unleash her inner monster. They try to defend themselves and fight back, but it's useless. Trying to block her is just as pointless, because absolutely nothing is stopping this woman. Even the guy who was acting confident a moment ago is left speechless. Why won't the president go to work? Upset, she complains that their date was ruined, so he owes her another outing. Right as she says that, he's not sure why her father is interested in him too. For now, he just needs to clear the quest. Dawood has no clue where that thing even came from. He warns his partner that they can't let him swallow Shetsim's stone under any circumstances. What was a normal scene just a second ago suddenly turns into pure horror. The explosion is massive, and he barely manages to crawl out of the rubble. The mutated freak mutters that he didn't want to use the stone before eliminating the prophet. After swallowing the demon stone, he turns into a complete monstrosity. He's the Chapter 1 demonoid, proving once again that this world is actively trying to kill Dawood. His new mission is to take down the purifier. With a screeching voice, the monster yells that the time for purification has come. Except the monster isn't even their biggest problem. Someone pulls off a weird move called Professor Dawood's lethal piercing thrust. Giving an attack such a ridiculously flashy name is definitely a choice. He tells the boy that even if he'd used the necklace, he still would have ended up like this. He says he has to handle things. He needs to protect the citizens and stop the Marquis. He tells Talon to run as fast as he can. Elsewhere, the president asks a kid if he has any guess where the Marquis is hiding. The demon creature starts gearing up to attack. It gathers an orb of dark energy in its palm. It's small, but it packs enough power to cause absolute destruction. While the guy is standing there full of himself and thinking he's about to cause massive destruction, he's interrupted by an annoying voice telling him to shut up. Of course, he'd come straight to the place where evil is sealed away. While that disgusting creature keeps running his mouth, Dawood holds on to the girl. He tells her that no matter what happens, both of them need to make it out of this alive. The monster notices she's ready to fight, finding it strange that she'd jump right into the clash so quickly. She charges head first at him and begins her assault. While she fights, Dawood runs along the ground, drawing attention to buy her some space. The purifier warns him not to try running away, except the boy saw it coming and dodges the entire attack. Several more blasts are fired off trying to hit the boy, The purifier can't understand how a bug like him just keeps running instead of standing and fighting. He turns his back on the girl and keeps up the chase. Elnor gets furious at being ignored, as if she's too weak for him to even bother with. It's a strange power called Dark Fang that makes it feel like your heart is about to burst. After unleashing all that power, he starts screaming. The incoming attack is truly devastating. It's obvious he's going to need to use his protective shield, and that immediately catches Elnor's attention. Worst of all, it hits Dawood dead on. The impact sends him flying, leaving him barely conscious. The demon laughs, mentioning the kid is tougher than he looked. The girl tells him she'll buy some time, but begs to get up fast. She remembers every single time he risked his own life to protect hers. He always goes all out to defend her, even when she isn't watching. Now everything is shattered on the ground, but the vitality necklace she gave him boosts his resistance. She says she'll trust in him until the very end. She still has one more question for him. She asks if he thinks she and the guy on the ground make a good couple. Still, he finds her attitude creepy since she really seems intent on becoming a housewife. Once they leave, Elnor gets emotional hearing all of this. She goes all out and charges straight at the monster. The girl starts beating him up with zero mercy. She unleashes her ultimate move and uses the Tramontana technique. The enemy barely has time to react. Because of that, the speed of her attacks keeps ramping up even faster. The monster ends up in terrible shape, and it's all because of that pathetic student. He demands to know what else they're hiding. Nearby, the smaller monsters are getting wiped out. The witch on her broom and Conrad seem to have things under control. Aaliyah is just glad they're all together, because things would be way more dangerous if they hadn't made it in time. It hurts like extreme, but he just needs to hold on a little longer. While he's thinking about this, Elnor crashes headfirst right beside him, wrecked. Even so, the villain lowers his guard for just a second while hesitating. That's the exact moment he gets hit. Elnor watches it happen right in front of her. Barely able to process it, she has to watch that monster pull something disgusting right before her eyes. Everything points to Elnor finally showing her true side. You can see a hamster in this scene. He remembers the monster's word. The main character is crouching down in massive pain. The girl is wearing a really beautiful dress. Dawood turns his head to try and see better. Part of the system was disabled, and his skills were stolen. He thinks that thing used Elnor's body as a vessel to manifest itself. Now the two of them are standing face to face. The higher their favorability, the stronger the effect gets. Tristan tells him she loves him. Everything stops for a split second. Dawood notices his wound vanishing. He thinks back to one of the strongest guys in the world. Having someone like that act so friendly toward him feels surreal. He has no idea how this will change the future, but he needs to grab whatever advantage he can. The pressure is so intense, it feels like his head's going to burst, and his skin is being ripped off. The woman starts to move. Dawood just stands there looking dumbfounded as she tells him she'll see him later. She casually mentions she'll look into his background after this. The monster screams that it's going to wipe him out, and then a massive explosion goes off. To make sure he's dead, the monster checks the blast zone. The monster wonders where the kid went right as a shadow looms directly behind him. Sensing a presence, he spins around to see what it is. With glowing red eyes, Dawood looks absolutely terrifying. A massive surge of power gathers high up in the sky. Right after that, another giant explosion hits. As the dust starts to clear, it reveals who actually dropped that attack. The monster can't even believe what he's looking at. A system alert pops up, warning that he's in mortal danger. The notification tells him his new Pandemonium Overlord skill has been activated. The monster snaps, asking how someone so pathetic could get this power, screaming that it's impossible. Dawood charges straight toward the monster. He rants that the prophet never said anything about this happening. That's when Dawood starts unleashing a relentless barrage of attacks. The monster ends up collapsed on the floor. He's in absolute agonizing pain. Elsewhere, Dawood is furious about the whole situation. There's just one thing the monster can't wrap his head around. He demands to know how a kid can use the exact full size power as him, only way stronger. He starts thinking about how hard he trained just to get this power. Seeing some random kid with the exact same power makes him furious. A status window pops up, warning that he just released his demonic energy. Now both of them stand face to face, consumed by the exact same fury. It's pretty clear Dawood isn't messing around. The monster wants to show him once and for all what happens when you mess with him. The monster manages to grab the kid by the head. He screams at him to get lost once and for all. He demands to know how some random kid can use a divine power like that. Dawood ignores him and counters with a brutal front kick. He follows up with a relentless combo to crush the demon for good. The monster can't take it and starts screaming in pain. The demon can't even wrap his head around why this is happening to him. Dawood doesn't care to talk and goes all out on him. Dawood understands he actually hasn't returned that object yet. The monster recovers and screams that he's going to destroy Dawood. Dawood just replies that those are some pathetic last words. The demon realizes his time has finally come. He wonders if everyone had already seen all of this happening. He knew from the start there was no escaping this. Immediately after, a notification appears confirming the main quest is complete. Later on, the blue-haired woman demands Dawood tell her everything he knows about the gray demon. He has no idea what she's talking about and asks what she means. Elsewhere, down the hall, someone asks if the blood bag is ready, and the team says they're setting it up at that moment. In all the chaos, the staff starts asking why the priest hasn't arrived to help yet. One of the gay demon's main abilities is corruption. She points out that he ended up becoming the center of everyone's attention. She asks if he acted knowing things would turn out like this. She tells him the gay demon is the strongest ruler in all of Pandemonium. That's why she thought it had chosen Elnor, the student council president, as its vessel. He tries to stand up, but his leg is seriously injured. The woman thanks him for protecting both the school and Elnor. Now he's lying with his head in the lady's lap. She explains that because of what the previous hero did, the demon fragments scattered and manifested across the world. Just yesterday, the gray demon temporarily awakened. Even in the original story, the other vessels caused a massive tragedy. The infamous Red Knight incident brought on by the Crimson Demon. She says the Holy Empire has an incredible intelligence network and has already tracked down the potential candidates. She explains there was only ever one time a vessel actually fell in love. Dawood thinks this whole thing has nothing to do with him. The lady mentions that the gray demon seems to have taken a real liking to him. This is the most important part. She insists the demon took an unusually strange interest in him. She takes the opportunity to bring up his unique talents. She says she has just one favor to ask of him. She wants him to figure out a way to pacify and control the demon vessels. She tells him not to worry, since so far every single candidate is a woman and all of them are drop-dead gorgeous. She calls him a lucky man, saying if he managed to charm the gray demon, he can definitely win over any woman. He asks if she really expects him to go around wooing all the demon vessels. She insists he can definitely pull it off if he puts in the effort. Our main guy says he already knows the answer, but asks what happens if he fails to lower the risks. He understands just how much he hates the game developers. Elsewhere, flowers bloom outside a bedroom window. The white-haired girl slowly starts waking up. She gets up and sits on the bed. She looks around wondering where she is. The girl with glasses warns it'll take a while for her to wake up. But the moment she steps inside, she sees she's already awake. She says she seriously thought her friend had died. She asks just how hard she pushed herself in that fight. The brown-haired girl explains he's already been discharged. She says he wasn't even hurt that badly. The silver-haired girl asks again if Dawood really left the hospital already. Her friend remembers a few days ago, watching her lie motionless on that stretcher. Back then, she warned that things would get really bad if she didn't wake up. He added that the Tristan family isn't weak enough to risk their lives for someone like him. The president complains, reminding her she's still just a patient. Ignoring her, the girl mentions that two people have been making a huge scene lately. The first one is Saint. The president finds it odd, asking if she isn't supposed to join the academy next semester. The girl admits she hates talking about it, but she has to warn her. It's someone who causes nothing but trouble. The president says something, but her friend can't make out what she means. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to distant city, where houses stretch out across the area. Mion comments how nice it is to see such a lively town. A girl asks him to close the window because the noise is bothering her. He says he'd get it if she'd spent her whole life locked away in some dark chapel. The mood starts getting dark, and he speaks up. He says he just wants to enjoy this bit of peace for a little longer. Asking if he really expects any peace, the blonde guy replies that he thought she had at least gotten a little friendlier by now. At the end of the day, it's the exact same thing. She thinks back on all of it and says there's someone she has to save. Instead, they're sending Herman in their place. His father tells the boy to just stay middle of the pack and avoid standing out. The man says he's not worried since the kid has always been smart. He just asks him not to start any trouble or draw attention to himself. The kid thinks to himself that he's glad his dad didn't see that. Mion asks if that's Herman and if he's some intern servant. He mentions these are the grapes their master sent over. Dawood tries the grapes and thinks they taste amazing. Dawood tells him to just act like a normal friend and eat some grapes too. The young guy finds the whole situation exhausting. That mission keeps bothering him, but he knows that won't be the only issue in his way. The real threat is the Chapter 2 boss. In the original story, this guy wouldn't even be alive. Even though he didn't have the best relationship with his daughter, he's still her father. Except now, she's already unlocked her first stage ahead of time. Someone walks up and asks why Dawood looks so grumpy. If they ever cross paths, he needs to get some information out of him. He thinks this is the perfect chance to defeat the Chapter 2 boss. Dawood tells him he's going to borrow his sword for a day. The guy drops to his knees saying it's an honor. The platinum-haired girl is annoyed, thinking he should have already learned that swordsmanship. This is actually the first time the two of them agree on something. She says that since her junior asked, she'll help out a bit. RMC realizes that if he tried to teach Gideons himself, he'd only be able to cover basic swordsmanship. The girl asks if the president only uses one hand on her sword, while Dawood has to use two. The president replies that it doesn't matter who holds the sword. The orange-haired girl says that's exactly why she should teach him, since she used to be a teacher's assistant. Right after, she adds that she knows about a few of the president's weaknesses. That instantly pushes the president over the edge, and things get tense fast. The rule is simple. Neither of them can use Tristan family powers. The platinum-haired girl comments that the other girl won't be able to push the president to her limits. Dawood is lost. They both wanted to teach him, and now they're suddenly fighting each other. At this rate, that girl is going to get overrun by the president. The junior says it's time to teach her a lesson. The president points out that her moves are far too flashy. She gets ready to land the final blow, except the president effortlessly blocks her attack and immediately follows up with a heavy counter. The president asks what she's whining about and if she really plans on losing to a demon. She glares at the junior, who's still bursting with energy. The junior reminds her that she comes from a demon family. No matter how noble the president is, in a matter of days, she'll be consumed by the demon. She points out that in the end, it's really just a sacrifice for the demon. With that, she starts for another attack. In a flash, she lunges forward, going straight for the president. The president raises her sword just in time to block the blow. Dawood freezes up, caught off guard. Elnor points out that it looks like the girl can't even control her own power. Realizing what she almost did, the freshman apologizes immediately. Dawood's friend is so freaked out that he collapses onto the ground. He wonders if she's already starting to merge with the shard. The freshman apologizes again, admitting she went far too far. She adds that putting your own allies in danger is unacceptable. Ignoring the scolding, the freshman asks where that other guy went. He knows he has to level up not just his sword skills, but his divine power too. Dawood walks up and mentions that she looks like she's doing pretty well. That girl happens to be the saint's sister. And now it's time for her to return the favor. They said hope is just the beginning of despair and hoped she finally got the message. The point was clear. Back then, she just listened to all of it in total silence. They used to say the saint's was nothing more than a cursed tool. That was Uria's one and only purpose. She snaps her eyes open. Startled, she realizes it was all just a bad dream. It's the same memory that keeps coming back to haunt her. Shaking it off, she takes a bite of the sweet apple in her hand. Turns out she doesn't just have one apple. She's got a whole basket of them. Mion shows up and ruins her peaceful break. Dawood walks up and asks if she's doing all right. She looks back to see who's bothering her, and instantly, her sword swings straight at him. She's confused why he'd step right into her range when he knew it was dangerous. He pushes himself just to keep up with the speed of her strikes. Dawood dodges quickly. She says she didn't mean to attack, telling him to back off before he gets hurt. He blocks her attacks using his own sword. He notices something and immediately looks behind him. Her sword comes rushing at him once again, and Dawood ends up falling backward onto the ground. She's caught off guard by how fast he moved. The apple even falls out of her mouth as he reminds her he promises to drop by and visit sometimes. He tosses the bag full of food over to her. He jokes that he always gets a harsh welcome, but gets that she's just trying to teach him a lesson. He asks if he came at a bad time. She suddenly remembers someone extremely rude in her past, telling her she'd be alone forever. She keeps remembering her past, back when that man said no one would ever save her or be her friend. She stands there with her mouth open, staring at the massive pile of food. She slowly walks over and picks up a piece of bread. Unable to hold it in, she breaks down, crying. She really thought she was going to spend the rest of her life alone there. He checks the rewards and sees he unlocked the B-rank swordsman's focus skill along with the speed boost. Dawood warns his friend they're going to be late, but his friend begs for just 5 more minutes. Elsewhere, a huge crowd starts gathering at the venue. A knight asks an old man if he needs help, but the old guy replies that he just likes walking since it's good for his health. Elsewhere, the crowd is shocked to see an important figure attending the open classes. People can't even believe what they're seeing. They're all saying he never shows up in public unless it's wartime. Turns out, this man's daughter is the student council president. The man with the scar asks if he lost the first archduke's technique, but Tristan says he's training exactly as he should. A beautiful woman announces that the fights will be closely monitored by teachers and on-duty medics. With that, the fighters start entering the arena. Dawood wonders if his game characters felt the same way. The woman tells everyone to grab their chosen weapons. Watching from the sidelines, Aaliyah wonders why Dawood is even competing. The announcer tells everyone to get ready because there's only 1 minute left until the battle begins. Everyone enters the arena, knowing there's only one goal. Anyone who places in the top 10 wins as well. The young guy asks his master to at least try to make the top 10, fully confident and ready to help however they can. Higher up, someone is watching the whole crowd. It's the student council president, analyzing every detail. Her father just glances back, acting like he doesn't notice a thing. The woman tells everyone to get ready because the fight is about to start. The fighters show massive determination right out of the gate. The battle gets fierce in a matter of seconds. In the middle of all the chaos, one specific guy is targeting only Dawood. Dawood has no idea why this guy is coming exclusively after him. He then uses a move called Brat Block. The man just watches, noticing that no matter how hard Dawood tries, he still looks clumsy. It's a girl in a purple cloak landing a kick straight on Dawood. Dawood gets caught off guard. He's surprised when she suddenly challenges him to a fight out of nowhere. The girl throws another powerful kick, hitting both Dawood and the blonde guy. Dawood remembers that she's actually the second daughter of the Tribal Alliance's chief. Both the president and Aaliyah are lost, asking who this girl even is. The braided girl warns Dawood that if he won't make a move, she'll attack first. He even starts thinking she might be stronger than Elnor. The blonde guy tries to figure out why Dawood defended him mid-fight. The blonde guy promises he'll help Dawood take first place no matter what. He taunts the girl, calling her a rookie, and saying he won't let her anywhere near Dawood. Dawood instantly knows the blonde guy messed with the wrong person and is about to pay big time. She then gets ready to unleash another attack. The blonde guy realizes he made a massive mistake by provoking her. As she charges up her power, the blonde guy ends up destroyed, lying on the ground. Now, the girl turns her eyes toward Dawood. Pointing her finger at him, she admits she's impressed he managed to block her attack. Both the president and her father watch, convinced he doesn't stand a chance. As soon as she starts attacking, he understands immediately that there's no way he can win. She unleashes a brutal barrage of attacks, one right after another. Realizing the situation, he drops his sword straight to the ground. He simply surrenders and announces he's out. The crowd starts calling him a coward, but his classmate thinks it was the smartest move he could have made. The purple-haired girl gets furious, complaining that the useless guy quit right when the fight was getting good. She gets consumed by rage. Someone comes up behind him and throws a sack over his head. In another location, someone finally takes the sack off his head. The council president's father appears in front of him and asks what his relationship with his daughter is, and if she's the one who taught him swordsmanship. He says that footwork belongs to his family's foundation, asking if the kid really thought he wouldn't notice. He demands the truth, warning that he won't ask a third time. The man is visibly furious, so the boy speaks up, saying the Sword Emperor was always a master of incredible skill. He goes on to explain that, to be specific, it's actually a mission. The boy asks the man to let him teach him the very swordsmanship that Dawood knows. He demands to know if the boy is ready to take full responsibility for what he's saying. The boy answers yes, standing by every single word. Internally, the boy knows he's just relying on what he remembers from the original story. He thinks to himself that this is the first time seeing this man in person. The man is reading his every move, so the boy knows he can't mess up for even a second. The man raises his index finger. He makes a lightning-fast motion and asks why the boy didn't defend himself. That's when the man explains he's already made his strike. Right at that moment, the boy's cup gets sliced right in half along with the table. It's a technique only the Supreme Knight can pull off. The boy stays seated still. He asks how someone who can't even react to an attack like that expects to teach him anything. It's the strike of someone who's fought a literal dragon. The boy knows this because he read the step-by-step guide in the journal detailing how Gideon grew stronger. He knows absolutely everything, including his master's secret past. The boy then starts addressing the man's true goal head-on. Back then, the person had ordered Gideon to cut the sea itself in half. They told him his journey would truly begin once he could slice through the ocean. He promises that if he does it exactly like that, he could cut the ocean in half. Hearing that leaves the young guy blown away. Elsewhere, back in the classroom, the teacher explains divine power, saying it's different from magic since anyone can use it. To himself, he complains about how more and more desks keep ending up empty. He blames Riverback for everything. Since no one knows he's working with Riverback, he just needs to hold on a little longer before disappearing for good. Dawood argues back that asking is important. The teacher loses his cool and ends the class early. He tells himself he just needs to grab the confidential info and get out so he never has to deal with these students or the principal again. Right at that moment, the door blows inward, sending him flying back. Sprawled on the floor, he asks if she's extreme for kicking a teacher. She adds that now it's his turn. A little while later, the teacher wakes up tied up. They're here to arrest him. The teacher demands to know who gave them that authority, only to freeze when they call him a spy. She points out that no real teacher would let their students get eliminated like that, which makes it obvious he isn't a real teacher at all. Checking his watch, Dawood says they don't have time to waste and orders him to hand over the other spies' names at that moment. After that, the teacher starts spilling everything, naming them one by one. He exposes the security guard, Barrymore, and the nutritionist, Anne. Confused, the teacher asks what he's doing. Dawood turns away, mentioning that the teacher doesn't seem like the type to give up so easily after leaking just a few names. Hearing that, Elnor suggests searching his desk, using his own powers to break free from the ropes. The teacher panics and screams at them to stay away from it. The teacher lunges at him, demanding his papers back. Elnor has to take the professor down again. After the blow, his neck is practically snapped backward. He flies straight into the wall, hitting it with enormous force. The impact is so loud that even the principal jumps, thinking it's an earthquake. Elnor says they can hand the guy over to the knights now, but Dawood tells her to hold on, since he's still just a novice. The professor realizes the kid reminds him of a girl he met in the past, alongside the Marquis. If he dared talk about her to anyone, he was dead. If he somehow forgot about her, he definitely deserved to die. It's like something is deeply wrong with him. Dawood cuts his thoughts short and tells him it's time for his treatment. Elnor replies that it didn't help at all since she gets zero joy out of beating up old men, except a systems message pops up right then, confirming her madness status is gone. Dawood panics and asks why he would ever go looking for her father, but she snaps back that that's precisely what she's trying to figure out. She says she hopes her father didn't do anything terrible to him, and Dawood quickly replies that nothing big happened. After all, he's the Grand Archduke Tristan. Dawood explains that one of the techniques she taught him really stood out during the fight. She mentions her father has no patience for teaching beginners, but makes it clear she wants no part in any of this. Though, he quickly wonders if it was even a good idea to say that out loud, especially since he didn't actually have many ways to protect her yet. When he gets back to his room, his butler starts complaining about how much time he's spending with Elnor. Mid-con conversation, he remembers that the survival exam season is starting. Looking at the description on his glove, now alone, he thinks to himself that he'll finally be able to awaken the ghost of the Gregory Pavilion. If he got some historical figure that didn't fit his build, it would be a total waste. Without hesitating any longer, he opens the item. As a vision starts to play, he's relieved to see that it's a knight. He wonders if it's Frederick the Lancer or Johann the Tank. While he's happy with the pull, he asks who it actually is. That's when the system reveals it's Calvin Crickenex, the Guardian of the Dawn. The scene shifts to a town reduced to ruins and rubble. A group of civilians surrounds a young Elia. The royal guard had to hold the line as long as possible. Calivan was one of the guardians who risked his lifeless to put an end to the Red Knight. That day, Aaliyah didn't just lose Calivan. Her father and mother were also killed in the conflict. Crying uncontrollably, she remembers her brother promising he'd come back. In the end, no matter how honorable a sacrifice is, it's still a devastating tragedy for the family left behind. Back at the academy, the instructor announces that the exams will be done in 4-person teams to fairly evaluate combat and survival skills. He mentions how she used to just run around aimlessly as a kid. But Dawood tells him she's all grown up now. He says he can tell the kid is a good person and asks him to protect his sister. Dawood replies that his goal is to make sure nobody gets eliminated. He brings up the exam groups and asks if she still needs a team. He invites her to form a party with him. Dawood confirms it and apologizes for saying earlier that they weren't that close. He explains that he's asking her directly because he really needs her help. A guy from Aaliyah's current group tells him to go ahead and take her, since she's always talking about him fondly anyway. A classmate replies that he's actually doing them a favor. But right at that moment, her teammate gets knocked out. As they walk away, her old teammate just stands there staring back in total disbelief. Elsewhere, over in the academy principal's office, tension is high. She points out how strange it was for a saint to arrive with a full escort, though she didn't think much of it at the time. In reality, she's a prime candidate to become a demon vessel. It all started when they locked up her twin sister. She keeps wondering why the Holy Empire would ever make a move like that. The priest explains that it wasn't an easy decision for them to make either. He confirms it played a role, but says the final trigger was discovering that one of the priests was actually a spy. He says she needs to show courage and justice wherever evil rears its head. He promises to send more details later. The principal mockingly asks if this is just the Empire's way of looking down on the academy. Exhausted after that conversation, the principal lets out a heavy sigh of pure frustration. She vents to herself, calling the guy nothing more than a fake, calculating manipulator. The real problem is realizing she's now being used as a pawn in the Emperor's game. In that moment, she realizes just how hypocritical she's being. At the end of the day, she's always manipulated the people around her to get whatever she wanted. Elsewhere, Uriah is washing some clothes down by the lake. It's been a few days now, and he always used to pass by around this exact time. She just can't get him out of her head. She thinks to herself that he didn't need to bring any of that. After all, just being by his side was more than enough for her. The voice repeats that the explanation is simple. He abandoned her. It's the priest's voice ringing in her head. That was the exact curse she chose to carry. The voice ends by telling her she'll die all alone because nothing has changed, and this will always be her reality. She couldn't even call for help, so she had no choice but to accept her fate. She hears a voice asking why she's crying. She doesn't even listen to a word he's saying. The second she sees him, she turns around with a huge smile on her face. Confused, he asks what she's talking about and tells her he came back to ask for a favor. He asks if it's okay for her to leave that place. She immediately apologizes, crying that she didn't mean to do it. She starts crying all over again, asking if he hates her now because of that. The scene cuts to the competition where the teacher explains that the goal is to reach the Great Plains, and taking extra necklaces from opponents earns extra points. She looks at the woman standing next to him and demands to know what's going on. Aaliyah can't fathom how that's possible and asks where their pride as human beings went. Except he instantly regrets saying anything the second he hears the response. Dawood tells Aaliyah never to leave his side, and more importantly, never to go anywhere near Uriah. With everything settled, Dawood calls Uriah so they can get going. Elsewhere, in the forest, a guy from another group mentions he thought they were going to get wiped out. He asks if everyone's okay and if anyone got hurt. Talion overhears this and says that if it weren't for him, every single one of them would have been eliminated already. In another part of the forest, Lulu stands over a defeated student, complaining that everyone here is weak. She wonders how it's even possible for everyone to be this useless. She says she's never seen anything like this and wonders how they even survive being like this. It was Elnor stopping the attack with her sword. The two stare each other down, instantly sensing each other's killer intent. Right after both of them unleash a massive attack at the exact same time. She says that as an officer, she can't tolerate this level of violence and orders her to stop at that moment. Stepping forward, Lil says this is a battlefield to her and tells Elnor to go ahead and finish her off. She mentions there were even people back in her tribe just like Elnor, strong people with zero conviction. who do nothing but stand there and cry even when they lose the ones they love. Looking back at Elnor, she suddenly notices the phantom of a gray demon looming behind her. This leaves the girl in complete and utter shock. The stronger you get, the more you realize how massive the world really is. She realizes the world really is far too big. Watching this, Elnor doesn't show a single drop of emotion. Seeing that the girl is actually going to attack, she uses a forced teleport, right on the verge of landing her strike. Just as her foot comes within inches of Elnor's face, she starts feeling something strange. She reappears somewhere else and crashes straight onto the ground. Groaning in pain, she looks around. Out loud, she complains about how ridiculous the student council president's power is. Putting that aside, she feels like the gap between them isn't just power. What she really asks is what made Elnor angry, wondering if it was because she spoke badly about the Empire. Right in the middle of a battle, Dawood gets a notification saying Lilu is showing interest in him. Elsewhere, Yuria keeps destroying everyone in her path. Right before getting knocked out, the students yell that Dawood is a fraud and that they'll rescue Aliyah. Dawood replies that there's no way he's doing that, mostly because he's already far too busy trying to keep Yuria under control. Hearing Dawood's screams, I wonders if they'll actually manage to finish this test. He says that ever since the first day of class. Confused, Dawood asks if she always has this many fans. The guy says he doesn't know how she got captured. Sick of repeating herself, she draws her sword. The green-haired guy freaks out and says he doesn't want to fight her. This is the perfect chance to level up his skill. So he tells Calvin to wake up. He says he needs a favor and tells him to step out. Calvin replies that he doesn't really know what's going on, except that it looks dangerous. Yuria hears a strange noise and looks back. Shocked, Dawood asks why he didn't leave, and Calvin replies he's not getting involved in a kid's fight. Elsewhere, Aliyah attacks the golem with pure rage. Instantly overcome with rage, the spirit bursts out and activates the mental realm skill. This shares the desperate survival buff with the whole party. The guy tries to warn her to hold on since his golem is made of stone and will break her sword. Even Aliyah herself wonders how she pulled off a feat like that. Dawood thinks to himself how impressive that was. In the end, the buff runs out after just a hit or two. Right after that, the chains get yanked, and Yuria gets hurled straight into the crowd. Purely on instinct, she starts throwing punches and kicks at everyone. Once everyone is on the ground, she apologizes, saying she tried to hold back. She wonders how anyone could possibly view this situation in a positive light. As the students close in, she readies one of her strongest attacks, Guardian Burst. Dawood thinks about how enormous that hit was and is just thankful he's only F- rank. Even the spirit wonders if she was always this strong. Looking down at his hand, Dawood wonders when the chain fell off. Where else? Another team points out. They now have 9 necklaces after grabbing that last one. The red-haired guy tells everyone they did a great job and probably hit the maximum score. She tells them second place already has 15 necklaces. The redhead says he can easily grab 6 more in no time, but the girl crushes his spirit, revealing that second place is just one single person, not a team. They say they've never seen him, but complain how unfair it is to have a freak like that in their class. Back to our main guy. He just unlocked a skill called Reflection, which returns a portion of damage whenever he lands a perfect block. Aliyah asks if the exam ends once they grab that last one, and he teases that she should already know, being top of the class and all. He wonders if whatever shows up next will be worse than a beast, but Aliyah freaks out, saying, this goes far too far, even for an exam. He has to quell the rage of the curse of Rupture Bearer while keeping Yuria and Lucian safe. Stepping closer, she promises she's going to save her. Right then, a voice calls out saying that won't be happening. Furious, Aliyah asks if it's really voluntary. Klein reiterates that she's doing this entirely of her own free will. Yuria is left in total shock when she hears her own sister claim she's doing all of this by choice. Yuria is surprised by her companion's response. He says he's not defying anything. He's just trying to save someone who's clearly suffering. The priest warns her that if she keeps pushing, he'll be forced to step in. Dawood is caught off guard, seeing the saint right there. Their top brass are ridiculously strong, way beyond normal logic, especially the Pope, who's obsessed with expanding his reach. It's like the system itself is pushing Yuria straight into despair. Dawood isn't extreme enough to fight a vessel that's losing control. Klein cuts in, saying the saint will stay put until second and third place arrive. Dawood knows exactly why they showed up so early, and Elnor is probably to blame. Now they're sure Elnor is behind it since she was right at the center of both attacks. If Yuria loses it now, things will only get worse. He wonders if they already know about Yuria, thinking that if they do, he won't have any other choice. Even Yuria is stunned by how bold he's being. Not even the saint has any clue what Dawood is planning here. He orders Klein to stop interfering and fight him, while the priest is left wondering how these enormous situations keep happening to him. Dawood casually replies that he's just a nobody from a family of barons. Hearing that, Dawood asks him why he drew his sword in the first place. Since the hero candidate is standing right there, he cannot understand why the priest is worrying about him so much. Klein scoffs, saying that for a simple student like him, he just needs to teach him a quick lesson. At that exact second, Dawood draws his sword. Right at that moment, his rebound skill kicks in. The impact sends the priest flying backward instantly. He'll explain that he didn't start a fight, but issued a formal duel, and that the unhinged priest attacked him first. When she questions him, he'll say he's already won over 50% of Yuria's trust, since the girl was right there when the mess went down. After all, he needs to get the vessel's attention, and just playing the nice guy isn't going to cut it. But she reminds him of his friends. Dawood should focus on making friends and stop getting into trouble. But thinking back to Archduke Tristan, he admits he's already failed at that part. A short while later, somewhere else, the saint is relaxing peacefully in bed, enjoying the moment while smoking a cigarette. As soon as she sees who walked in, both of them freeze in complete shock. Confused, all she can do is say Yuria's name. Sensing the awkward tension in the air, the saintess decides to get up, but seeing her move, Yuria panics. Yuria warns her that because of the curse, if she gets too close, she'll end up getting badly hurt. But Lucian says that's actually a relief since the two of them are twins. Dawood knows Lucian is crucial for Yuria's awakening, because without her, Yuria's mind will be destroyed by obsession, causing the girl to break down. The Holy Empire's interference in Lucian's life needs to end once and for all. This fight has to make a big enough impact to change that. The principal thinks that even if the Pope didn't come in person, there's no way he'd miss watching a fight like this. After saying that, he asks if the kid heard the warning clearly. Hearing that, the high priest instantly remembers a conversation he had the night before. Klein had asked if an ability like that actually existed, and the Pope replied he'd seen something similar before, though he didn't expect to run into it again. He gets ready for battle and activates his stacked blessings. Right after that, he keeps charging up his power. He plans to use this attack to teach him a lesson. He wants to put that arrogant noble right back in his place. The Pope watches closely, enjoying the fact that the fight is about to start. He uses his copied skill, Wrath of the Grey Demon. Still in midair, Klein feels something terrifying coming his way. A flash of light appears accompanied by red lightning. Everything turns gray, and a notification pops up saying the seal of Heavenly Fall is reacting. Taking advantage of the opening, Dawood raises his sword for the final blow. He lands a direct hit, sending cracks spreading across the ground. The sheer force of the impact leaves the headmistress stunned. The guards are absolutely terrified by what they're seeing. A status window pops up confirming that guidance has been activated. Another alert pops up stating, the seal of Heavenly Fall has reacted. One more notification shows that demonic energy is gathering inside the seal. Everyone freezes when they realize the demon has manifested inside Elnor. Our main guy realizes it's going to be tough to handle this with just his own power. The woman just stares at him in complete silence. He finds her behavior pretty strange. The demon tells him he's hurting her feelings. She touches his sword and red energy starts surging out of it. She just flashes a smile. He can't take his eyes off her. The two of them keep trading blows back and forth nonstop. He finds it weird how effortlessly she blocks all his attacks. Since the rule is not to kill the guy, she decides to just teach him a light lesson. The massive impact sends him flying through the air. The hit is so strong that instead of falling, he stays suspended in the air. They point out that while he was distracted, that group grew way more than expected. The kid then turns to the winner and asks if he has anything to say. The crowd snaps, yelling at him for having the nerve to disrespect Her Holiness like that. People start complaining, asking what school teaches its students to behave like such terrible. That's not even the worst part. He keeps blasting the group, calling every last one of them a bunch of creeps. The guy laughs out loud as he throws all these insults right in their faces. The kid looks back at them and asks what they're going to do now. Even though the duel ended up being a complete waste of time, she agrees to accept his request. leaving the woman beside her stunned. Admitting defeat, she decides to walk away, taking the injured man with her. Elsewhere, far away from all the drama, a secret meeting is taking place. He tells the purple-haired woman to look into everything about the kid. She agrees immediately, promising to do exactly what he asked. Dawood sighs in relief, glad that guy is finally gone. In the background, the referee calls the match and officially announces to Wood Campbell as the winner. Even Hatan praises the kid, saying he likes him and that he moves like a true warrior. Dawood moves fast and catches the gift right out of the air. Before leaving, the tribe chief invites the kid to visit his village, promising him a warm welcome. Back at the academy, the headmistress asks if he used the vessel's power again during the fight. She tells him to gear up, because his life is about to get extreme chaotic. Without flinching, he tells her he gets the message. As a reward, he gets an echo of blessing along with another evil seed. With this new drop, he now holds a total of 4 evil seeds in his inventory. One of them is Eye of Perception, a skill that lets him inspect an opponent's entire stat sheet once a day. He sees Trisha, but decides he doesn't need to analyze her at that moment. He notices someone nearby running and out of breath. It's Elnor, the perfect person to test his new power on. Watching her train, he notices she's practically plowing through everyone in her path while running. He finally activates Perception Gaze. Almost all of Elnor's stats are shrank, and she's fused with a demon fragment at an 80% fusion rate and 2% corruption. At least her corruption is still low. Otherwise, she'd already be a demon, when suddenly an eye pops up right in his field of view. She adds that from here on out, he'll have to handle things on his own since her job as student council president takes up all her time. Believing his answer, she hands over the logs, tracking all of the target's movements during the exam. He gives her a quick hug and promises to return the favor later. He notes that the report points to the clock tower as the target's location, so he says goodbye and heads over immediately. Recalling the report and knowing the guy usually stays at the tower until 7 o'clock, he understands the guy entered the academy around the same time as the Saints. Confused, Dawood asks how he already knows his name. Valkas tells him to catch his breath first and reveals that the seer was the one who told him about Dawood. The king says Dawood is lucky to have an excellent spy, but points out he's in no position to schedule a meeting. Valkas warns him that the seer's assessment was straightforward. Dawood is his biggest obstacle. The king asks him to answer whether he's really going to stand in his way. Dawood realizes this guy already knows his identity and his every move, giving orders, without ever having met him in person. He explains he heard Dawood had information on them, especially since he only came looking for him, because he knew exactly who he was. On top of that, they're still trying to figure out who this prophet actually is. Confused, Dawood asks why he's telling him all this. He reveals he knows exactly who his opponent is. Valkas, the last king of Armada, who used alchemy to absorb every single one of his subjects. He adds that he hates it when people mess with his plans. Still, the king insists he's not here to ruin anything. He believes a game should always be fair, and even with all this knowledge, Dawood is still at a massive disadvantage. Dawood realizes he's hit the nail on the head. Dawood sees that the king has 2 million alchemical spells embedded in his body. The king remarks that using that skill during battle isn't very practical. Dawood replies that he knows, which is why he usually uses it in secret. The king says he wanted to see if what the prophet said about Dawood was true. Dawood clenches his fists and asks if he wants to make a bet. 3 days from now, at the exact moment, the king plans to wipe everyone out. Dawood will do everything in his power to stop him. In return, if he wins, he wants one thing. Before he can even finish, the king cuts him off, saying Dawood will just become another number inside his body. Looking down, all Dawood sees left behind is a trail of souls. He starts wondering what will happen if he actually loses this bet. That's the most important rule. Elsewhere, somewhere else, standing outside the room, Lucian asks if Yuria is done getting dressed. Yuria says she does, but she seems a bit uncomfortable. She explains she's never worn anything like this before, and it feels a little embarrassing. After everything she did, it's the absolute least she can offer. She reassures the girl that she can relax as long as she's around. She looks back and notices the girl is wearing a collar. She asks her what on earth she's doing with that on. Lucian is left speechless. Yuria quickly clarifies that she doesn't think Lucian's gifts are any worse. She begs Lucian not to get the wrong idea. Gritting her teeth, she calls out to Yuria and asks where that scoundrel vanished to. He explains that he only used the collar because this was the only thing he could find in time. She asks how on earth he knew something like that. She says she was just annoyed at first, but the more she heard about him, the more suspicious he seemed. Dawood knows he got all this from his game knowledge, but obviously he can't tell her that. He assures her he's on her and Uria's side. Calming down a bit, she calls him out. She says she'll let it slide this time, since he did fight for them and take care of Uria. Dawood then starts explaining that the Holy Empire's plan requires both Uria and Lucian. It's called the Hunkelus Project. The title of saint isn't something she was born with. Lucian was actually created by fusing materials together. She was made to contain holy power, while Uria was created to support and boost that power. However, Uria's escape ruined those plans, and he'll never stop coming after them. The Pope only lifted the restrictions temporarily because Dawood is there. Getting even more stunned, Lucian demands to know who he really is, to know so much about this. She asks if that is really going to help. Dawood says he has no doubt about it. Yet here she is doing something even worse. The saint explains they can't just ignore the curse. The saint agrees, saying she still can't trust Dawood completely. She explains that the star core is made of the same substance as Uria's sword. She says the only reason she brought Dawood here is because she trusts the creator who led them to him. Alias accepts the task, saying she feels deeply honored by the trust placed in her. Elsewhere, Dawood thinks about how demons can freely meddle in the human world. He knows lower-rank angels are bound by the rules of the world, which is why those last ones couldn't act without a reason. She asks if Uria can protect herself if things go sideways, and Uria just nods. Aya tries to live up to that trust, telling Uria not to worry because she'll keep her safe. The attack barely leaves a tiny scratch on the surface. That sudden move terrifies Alia. Elsewhere, outside, the saint starts thinking things over. She figures that if Dawood even knows about the homunculus project, his information network must be enormous. Alia can't believe what's happening right in front of her eyes. Even the saint's sister is frozen, unable to process the scene. He was expecting another low-ranking angel to show up, just like last time. But reality turned out way different. Dawood understands he's in for a huge, dangerous surprise. Alia mutters that heavenly matters are impossible to predict. As it starts to descend, the angel speaks up and says it remembers him. Dawood admits he did, and asks if it's going to attack his mind now to teach him some manners. The angel replies that it has no intention of attacking him. In the original game, angels couldn't interfere freely, but they could still launch mental attacks. Usually players gave up immediately. He wonders why this one is just standing there, doing nothing. The angel tells him that it finds his thoughts very interesting. It says it only planned to give him a simple warning, but it sensed his intentions were far too direct. A second later, he finds himself standing in a different place. He wonders if this environment is supposed to be his own mental realm. It explains that a person's mental space is supposed to reflect their moral alignment. Looking at this place, the angel can't tell at all if Dawood is good or evil. She hates this whole situation. With a scowl, she mutters that she can't believe a human like him even exists. That means exposing a part of his soul, which is exactly what he wants. Right after that, the space connected to his soul is created. The angel asks if he closed his own mental space. He says no, adding that he wouldn't even know how to do that. Dawood is watching closely too. The angel asks what on earth is going on. She steps in closer to get a better look. Both of their eyes go wide in shock. They realize it's a demon. The demon glares right at the angel and blasts her with energy. Turns out it's the white demon herself. Her eyes widen the second she looks at Dawood. A status window pops up, warning that the white demon has taken an interest in him. She even calls him her darling. As she's pulled by those thread-like lines, she says she's always wanted to meet him. Dawood definitely wasn't expecting a reaction like this. The demon leans in close, licking her lips like she wants to taste him. She just wants to take a little bite out of him. He knows that if he gives in to temptation, he'll end up her slave. The demon looks at him full of desire. As the angel yanks her hair, the demon screams at her to let go. Dawood wonders if a low-tier angel can actually go head-to-head with a demon. The moment the angel slips up, the demon breaks free and pops her claws out. Furious, she hits the angel so hard that feathers go flying everywhere. The blow sends the angel flying backward. It was a heavy hit, leaving the angel in enormous pain. The demon goes all out, rushing the angel to land another attack. The hit is so powerful that smoke comes off the impact. Our main guy just watches the whole thing, lost on what's happening. That makes the demon furious. She can't stand being blackmailed by a mere human. The angel snaps at him in annoyance. He orders the demon to let the woman go and get out of his mental space, telling her they'll settle things later. He confirms it is, knowing deep down that it's bound to happen anyway. He warns her that if she doesn't listen to him, he's going to jump. She just stares at him, looking confused. After thinking it over for a second, she finally lets the woman go. He tells her to get lost at that moment. The demon says he better keep that promise. Dawood thinks to himself that now that angel owes him big time. Looking back, he asks the angel if she agrees with that. A few hours later, someone asks if that thing really is a stellar iron bar. Her friend asks if just that will be enough, and he says there's more to it, explaining that stellar iron boosts vitality and is enormously durable. Dawood ignores her question. The saint just keeps staring at the object. The orange-haired girl asks if they shouldn't start preparing, too. He tells both of them to pay close attention to what he's about to say. He explains that they need to save the school. Elsewhere, the purple-haired woman is busy working on something. The blonde guy looks visibly furious. A red-haired guy mentions that tomorrow is the final day of outdoor training. The other guy agrees, saying they're going to take first place. While our main guy walks through the crowd, someone asks if he's used to being all by himself. He asks her who she is. She says she's what he'd call a butterfly effect. Now he's standing face to face with this mysterious woman. She tells him that everything that's happened led to her standing right here in front of him. She gets closer, instantly appearing behind him, and says she thought he'd be smarter, but he's actually pretty average. She even points out that he's so normal. It's almost creepy. Looking at her, he tries to remember if anyone like this existed in the original story. She says she's way better than those demon girls. While he keeps pushing to know her true identity, she explains she's just someone who hates seeing those girls anywhere near him. He tells her to give it back, realizing how dangerous the situation is, and finding it weird that no system notification popped up. She claims she's the only person who truly understands him. She insists she's the only one in the world who ever could. She adds that she's the only villain capable of doing something like this. Not even those demon girls could pull off what she's about to do. She tells him the Valkus invasion could happen at any second, but she knows he can handle the pressure. She tells him to make her fall even deeper in love with him. Elsewhere, somewhere else, the orange-haired girl's eating something delicious and deciding she's called it a day. Aliyah asks if the Holy Studies group was talking about it, and her friend confirms that Aliyah is getting famous. She remembers shutting it down last time with Dawood's help, and her friend smiles, saying it's nice to see the two of them getting along so well. Her friend points out that taking down a giant monster in one hit or wiping out a whole horde of enemies at once is seriously impressive. Everyone around them senses the danger too, and starts screaming that the protective barrier is tearing open. Me people had no idea what was going on, but the girl with glasses tells everyone to grab a weapon, just in case. Immediately, a woman rushes toward the breach. She starts unleashing her power. She thinks this happened way faster than our main guy said it would. If this was part of his plan, he was in deep trouble. She figures he's going to have a lot of explaining to do later. Me people even start screaming in terror. Naturally, the evil creatures notice what's happening immediately. Everyone starts running for cover. They yell for everyone to get inside and protect the freshmen. You can see a monster's giant claw popping out. Mion asks what enemy warns their opponent before attacking. A guy says he's ready and tells the other to hurry up, because he's waited long enough. All they want is to taste human flesh. The student begs for help in total panic. His professor shows up and slices the monster right in half. He asks if he taught the kid to just stand there like an idiot and yells at everyone to get inside. After all, the monsters inside the school aren't the only problem. If the barrier shatters and all that energy gets concentrated here, things are going to get really ugly. All the teachers yell at the students to move faster. One teacher warns them not to fight. Just evacuate the area. They have to stop those monsters no matter what. With that, they jump into the fight. Dawood realizes his plan has failed. The monsters are loose and the barrier is gone. None of this was supposed to happen. Dawood understands everything has gotten out of hand. If Mion asks him if he didn't hear the order to evacuate, he can't even hear what she's saying. Focused on finding a way to fix this, he knows he has to turn tables somehow, or at least fight back. She asks if he's deaf, but he still tunes her out. Locked in on solving this mess no matter what, she tells her senior to go on ahead. Dawood asks her to cover for him just this once. He tells her they might actually be able to save the school. He asks her to remember everything he's done up until now. He admits he might be weird, but she knows he never acts without a plan. She asks the president why she's just standing there. The president replies that this will be the absolute last time she trusts him. The girl with glasses thinks the president is a total idiot. Raising his hand, Dawood says the two of them can't handle this alone and need their help. He asks for assistance, but a man replies that he has no idea what he's talking about. They claim to just be delegates from the Holy Empire. They keep playing dumb, saying they have no clue what he means. Dawood says he knows why they're here, especially since he recently provoked the Pope. The man replies that even if that's true, they're under no obligation to help. He tells him not to care if the school falls as long as he stays alive. He reminds them that many people are losing their lives at that moment. For their own good, they'd better lend a hand immediately. Even if every villain in the world tries to hold him back and cause him pain at that, the person starts scratching their head, thinking it over. That's when she pulls down her hood, revealing a really gorgeous woman underneath. Once he earns their trust, getting the group to the tower is a breeze. It really looks like the strongest creatures gathered there, as if waiting for a final boss battle. Elsewhere, the president just watches the whole thing with a furious glare. The short-haired woman looks heavily armed and ready to handle the threat. She tells him that once this is over, he'd better take full responsibility for every word he said. It's not just her. The whole squad is tearing through the enemy. He thinks about how ridiculous their power is. Right at the top of that tower is where the enemy is waiting for them. Still, she knows he's always had a good reason for acting like that, which is the only reason she's stuck by his side this long. Plus, deep down, she actually thinks he's a decent guy in his own way. As they keep talking, a giant shadow starts creeping over the area. Since the only way through is to lure the beast away, he asks if she can draw its attention. Dawood understands her plan is to just slice the thing to pieces once and for all. He has to shout a warning. A heavy blow is coming at her from the right. The giant monster is already swinging, ready to crush her. All he sees is her sprinting straight forward. She has zero intention of backing down. In fact, she's charging right in. To her, the best defense is a good offense. She lunges head-in at the disgusting thing. Even so, with every passing second, it becomes obvious she's severely outmatched. He was right all along. There really are monsters that even her family's famous swordsmanship can't cut down. This was expected from a creature built to be immortal, and now they're running out of time to climb the tower. He can't believe what he's hearing. Ditching an ally was never his style. He's furious seeing such a strong girl break down just because her sword snapped. No matter what the system or the original story says, she's the absolute last person who should be showing weakness like this. He calls out to her. He tells her that since this seems like the end, he wants to say one last thing before he goes. It hits her so hard that her energy instantly surges back, giving her a whole second wind to fight. It's far too late for the creature now. She's out for blood and ready to tear apart anything in her way. She hurls herself back at the monster. She doesn't even look human anymore. She might not seem human at that moment, but that pure rage gives her the sheer strength to slaughter anything in front of her. He just scoffs, muttering that youth really is a wonderful thing. He actually finds it admirable that Dawood tried to stop him in a situation like this. Dawood better not forget it. With that, multiple magic circles start floating in the air. Floating above them, the guy says he hates demons, and he hates those disgusting fighters just as much. Dawood knows why. They kept him trapped and suffering for thousands of years. It's ironic that someone who claims to hate demons would team up with the prophet, seeking their power, a promise to finally end a life where dying was impossible. His kingdom's people were turned into forbidden art just to seal him away. After suffering for so long, the boy king had to choose between trusting a demon or a villain. He asks if Dawood knows the way. Dawood just listens to him talk while coming up with a new strategy in his head. Of course, Dawood knows the way. The demon's vessel asks if he gets the situation, since he's left with no choice but to attack. Elsewhere, young Alia thinks she needs to warn the others first, since she's the only one with experience. After giving her warnings, Alia decides to just let them learn the hard way. All three are launched successfully. Elsewhere, the demon keeps attacking, telling his opponent not to disappoint him. Reality hits Dawood hard, leaving him frozen in place. The Tristan family technique should be enough to start with, but then he changes his mind and sheaths his sword. Elsewhere, the enemy mocks him, saying he thought he came to fight, not play tag. It's a huge disappointment for the monster, but he's not going to pull his punches. Luckily, the veteran dodge zone works here too, which is a huge relief for Dawood. When he looks up, he sees chunks of the monster flying through the air. That's a good sign. It means Elnor won her fight. He remembers that when this type of monster dies, its brain or heart explodes. The monster attacks him again. A mass explosion goes off, confirming she really finished her battle. Caught off guard, Dawood takes a heavy hit and crashes to the ground. The monster asks him if he actually feels like fighting now. He responds by asking if they can just wait a little bit longer. As expected, he doesn't show much emotion, but says he'll remember his courage for a long time. They tell the demon worshipper not to worry because they're taking him down at that moment. A beautiful blonde angel has arrived to save the guy. Relieved to see he's still safe, I slams down onto the ground as well. Fully intent on defending her friend, she praises him for holding out so long and asks if he missed her. She thanks her master for it and promises she won't let anyone hurt him. Only the protective blessing remains, granting her a set of golden armor. The demon finally loses his cool and says he's sick of all this talking. He tells everyone to follow his exact orders, and that's how they're going to win. First off, nobody moves from their assigned positions, no matter what. Everyone needs to stay fully focused. Yuria mentions to the angel that this is the first time they're actually fighting side by side. Dawood tells them to focus, because the enemy is closing in, ordering Lucian to prep Blessing 37 and stand by. Anything that moves gets cut. With that, the enemy steps up, ready to wreck everything. Lucian complains that Dawood is calling all the shots, but doesn't seem to have any faith in them at all. Right after blocking, she needs to take a few steps back without getting too far away. The plan is to maintain the sweet spot for a counterattack. The cultist tries hitting her from every possible angle using his tentacles. He orders Aliyah to move in for an attack. He tells the warrior in training not to worry, because everything is going exactly according to plan. Reassured, she keeps sprinting forward, ready to slice apart anything in her way. Run in, hit the monster, give it her all, and repeat, watching all this go down. Elsewhere, Yuria gets called out for holding down the front line like an absolute boss. They need to go all out this time, and Aliyah is more ready than ever. With that much firepower behind his attacks, he actually sliced a few of those monsters straight in half. A huge burst of flames goes up, engulfing the enemy. Seeing them synchronize like this, Dawood realizes they actually have a real shot at winning. The problem is the demon seems ready to ramp up his attacks even further now. Elsewhere, the protective barrier constantly needs to be refreshed. But even Adelante has her limits in a high-intensity fight like this. The fight stays brutal, and everyone is pushing past their limits. Lucian and Yuria are hyper-focused on securing the kill. He calls out to Elia, telling her it's time to crush the boss, and orders her to charge up a massive attack, while Dawood keeps barking out commands. He orders Aliyah to dodge to the side and gives Lucian the green light to unleash her ultimate buff. The hit is so precise, it leaves even the cultist shaken. The chains keep getting pulled with enormous force. It's pretty obvious she has a deeply personal score to settle with Valkas. She activates her ultimate power. The strike lands clean to deliver the exact end he was promised. It looks like it's all over, and he's finally going to break free from the chains holding him. Except Lucian notices Valkas is somehow still tanking the attack. Seeing him refuse to go down, the girl puts even more power behind the blow. With that, he starts screaming in unbearable agony. She knows this is their only window, so she needs to act fast. Realizing he survived, even with his heart pierced, she decides it's time for extreme measures. He orders her to fall back with the other two, saying he's taking over the rest of the battle himself. He tells her he's not extreme, and that he knows exactly how much HP this monster has left. Once again, he has to trust someone else, and he's not comfortable with it at all. He asks the Sit to head down with Yuria. The problem is that he sounds just like her brother used to, back when he promised he wouldn't die, and would come back in one piece. Even their smiles are identical, except our main guy has absolutely no intention of losing here. That's the exact problem. Watching him walk away like that gives her the feeling she'll never see his face again. She tries calling out to say something, but the words just won't come out. He calls her name again, and with nothing else she can do, Aliyah just grips the hilt of her sword tight. The thing is, at that moment, the only one capable of giving him a fair fight is Dawood, the weakest human with Frank all across his stats. Crossing his arms, the brother replies that it would be ridiculous to think it doesn't. Dawood stays calm and doesn't ask another thing. With that, he brings the object close to the demon. In an instant, an empty void takes over, and his eyes snap wide open. The pain drags on for minutes, creating a world made of nothing but agony, darkness, and emptiness. Out of nowhere, a light appears in the distance. It feels like all he has to do is reach that distant image. It's an image of a young boy sitting all alone, looking deep in thought. The kid just watches the fire burn everything down, like he's given up on changing his fate. As the flames consume everything, he just sits there mesmerized by the destruction. Something catches his attention in the middle of it all, making him turn around to look. He says he came here, not just to save the kids, but the entire kingdom, which was exactly what the blonde kid figured. Suddenly, something weird happens. The barrier starts fixing itself. There was only one explanation for this. That brilliant student must have pulled it off. It's enormous to see the barrier almost restored. All of a sudden, the sky bursts into a whole bunch of different colors. System windows start announcing that the main quest is complete and rewarding him many points. When he wakes up, the first thing he sees is Elnor, staring right at him with those intense red eyes. She tells him that's not why she's mad. The real reason is something else. She explains that she ran into the warrior candidate and the saintess outside the tower. Since they helped defeat the warlock, she feels like she was the one left out this time. His expression changes, turning serious and surprised. That's because he notices an item on the ground, showing that all the dark art curses have finally been lifted. He can even picture a conversation between them in his head. He's so tired that he just lays back on the ground and stares up at the sky. He decides to change the subject and asks her what she wants to do next. She makes sure to remind him that he still owes her dinner since they didn't get to eat together last time. He's relieved. Break is finally here. The rumor is that someone chopped the building in half, so they have to do repairs. With Valkas defeated and the Academy barrier restored, the clock tower crisis finally ends. Without the kingdom falling into the disaster, Dawood remembered. System messages confirm the main quest is complete, but Dawood is too exhausted to celebrate after surviving the final exchange. When he wakes, Elnor is already beside him, irritated that Aliyah and the saint fought at the tower while she was left elsewhere. Dawood notices the lingering dark curses have vanished, confirming the boy king and the trapped souls were finally released from their burden. Elnor ignores the growing rumors around her own victory and reminds Dawood that he still owes her the dinner, their earlier mission interrupted. The damaged academy announces an early vacation while repairs begin, giving everyone a rare pause after the invasion. And the clock tower battle. Yuria chooses trust over running again, while Lucian sees that her sister has finally found people she genuinely wants beside her. Alia still carries grief for her family, but her friend suspects someone new has already begun filling part of that empty space. Dawood is warned that demon worshippers will keep targeting him, so even his vacation cannot become a completely careless break. His next trip will take him back toward home, with Alia and the student council president beside him, leaving the former nobody anything but unnoticed.